As time goes on, there are certain things in media that are deemed important, whether it be a legendary movie or a book that presents challenging ideas. People remember these for their impact and how they affected the world around them. A lot of these sorts of things are said to be ahead of their time, and one of my favorite things is to go back and take a look at how these pieces of media viewed the world through their own lens as a playground for ideas. The video game I chose for tonight presents very interesting ideas about problems very relevant to us in our digital age, and I think it's important to take a look back at it. So grab a snack and something to drink, and let's dive into Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty. Pretty much how this is going to go is that I'll talk about different aspects of the game that are pretty cool, and you're going to watch. I'm going to leave spoilers in their own section, and warn you before they happen. That way you can skip to the end of the video for my conclusion. Alright, let's get to work. Those of you who already play video games probably know that Hideo Kojima has a knack for presenting very forward-thinking ideas within his projects. Along with Tomokazu Fukushima, the co-writer of several games in the Metal Gear series, Sons of Liberty gives you a lot of things to think about, both in a gameplay and narrative sense. Let me set the stage for the story before we get into things. 2007, above the New York Harbor. Solid Snake is tasked with infiltrating and confirming the existence of a new Metal Gear weapon, said to be held on a US Marine tanker crossing the Hudson River. However, as soon as he gets aboard, the tanker is promptly overtaken by Russian forces. And just as Snake is able to make his way to the center of the ship and see the weapon with his own eyes, a familiar face returns and things go sour. The tanker collapses as Snake is lost among the waves, allowing the weapon to dive deep beneath the waters and disappear. 2009. The massive environmental decontamination and cleanup facility, Big Shell, is erected 30 miles offshore of Manhattan, in efforts to counteract the polluting effects of the sunken tanker. During a tour, the President of the United States is taken hostage by a group named the Sons of Liberty, led by an individual claiming to be the one and only Solid Snake. If their demands of $30 billion aren't met, Big Shell will be blown out of the water, damaging the coastline and turning into a toxic soup for centuries to come. Special Agent Raiden has been given orders to rescue the US President and the hostages from the Sons of Liberty. After infiltrating from the Hudson River, Raiden must use his nanomachine-enhanced body to make his way through the compound. But as the mission progresses, things aren't exactly as clear as they should be. The switch to Raiden as a main character caught so many people off guard, as he was never shown in any promotional footage, from screenshots to trailers, or even the back of the box. Everybody just expected another Solid Snake adventure. As you take control of Raiden and are plunged into the Big Shell, you quickly realize you haven't been given all the details of what's really going on. Characters are saying things that contradict your own briefing, and there's things going on behind the scenes that are much bigger than you thought. And slowly, you begin to feel doubt in the face of your current objective, not sure who to trust as you make your way through the complex. The game was originally released in 2001, along with an updated version released in 2002 called Metal Gear Solid 2: Substance. Substance offers some pretty cool additions, from nearly 500 standalone VR missions to new additions to cutscenes, different effects, and skateboarding. Yeah. Finally, the addition of Snake Tales is pretty interesting. These are a bunch of missions involving Snake running around the Big Shell with their own little stories. The missions are described using screens of text instead of the regular codec calls, so no voiceovers in these. If you're a fan of how the game plays, I'd say check these out. All of these additions are pretty cool. Sneaking around the Big Shell feels very natural. Running from strut to strut and getting to know the layout of each building helps break everything down from what would seem like a massive facility. Naturally, the mechanics of the game improve upon the first. there are a whole buttload things the player can do now as opposed to the first game. Among some of these additions is the ability to aim and shoot in first person, along with leaning left and right and even standing on your toes. You can even hide bodies, which allows for more player freedom. I don't think I have to elaborate on all the crazy details in this game. From ice cubes that melt in real time to different pots and pans making different sounds as you shoot them. Even in terms of combat, you can do things like shoot radios out of enemies' hands or grab and shake items out of them when they're downed. There are so many of these little things, there are a million other YouTube videos that delve way into them, and a lot of them allow for a more enhanced replay value. That being said, if you don't learn somewhat quickly, the game can be kind of aggravating. This shouldn't be too hard, since most of your mechanical skills should carry over from Metal Gear Solid 1, and all you really need to do is improve and adapt upon it. Which makes sense because this is a sequel to an already existing game, and I don't know why you wouldn't play the first one before playing the second one. There are some video tutorials you can look at inside the game itself, covering some more advanced maneuvers. It's pretty useful to look at if you want to delve deeper into the gameplay mechanics. You know, I can't really think of anything outright bad with this game. The gameplay is pretty cool, and the story is even better. But the game's not perfect. It can be a little bit hard to follow everything going on if you aren't already familiar with Kojima's narrative style, and especially with the themes he brings up this time around. That being said, I can't really delve into that unless we go into spoiler territory. If you haven't played the game, you may want to skip past this section using the timestamp on screen to the conclusion of this video. Man, there is so much to talk about with this game. Everything after waking up in Arsenal Gear is absolutely crazy, and everything before that is crazy too when you meet up with Solid Snake and you find out what's going on. It's the perfect climax for everything you've been through so far. The concepts this game brings up and how it presents itself can be an entire video on its own. But, I'm not here to do that. I just play video games on the computer. That being said, I'm only going to cover some stuff in this section, in order not to keep it absurdly long. I don't mean for this section to be a full-on analysis, but rather a collection of interesting ideas I found through research and my own experience playing the game. The end of Metal Gear Solid 2 reveals a lot to us, whether explicitly stated or not. Some major and obvious, and some not so much. Let's start by taking a look at an analogous relationship between Raiden and the player. The player and Raiden are linked from the very beginning. Raiden has done VR training, while the player has beaten Metal Gear Solid 1. Raiden was a child soldier, while the player has played video games before. This is Raiden's first mission in the field, and this is the first time the player is playing Metal Gear Solid 2. Once the truth of the Solid Snake simulation plan is revealed, the player instantly knows what's going on, since they themselves have experienced the events of Metal Gear Solid 1 firsthand. Then once the real truth is revealed, the selection for societal sanity creates a picture of how manipulating world events and the decisions of individuals can mold said individual into anything of choice, and how pretty much everything that occurred on the Big Shell was nothing more than a test run for the Patriots. Towards the final segment of the game, Raiden is given his own unique mechanic, which establishes himself as his own person and character, not someone trying to become Solid Snake, or emulate his actions. This challenges the command of the Patriots, GW, and the S3, to show that a person can become more than what they're set out to do, and evolve past their current form. During my research, I came across a very interesting analysis of the game over at Delta Head Translation, titled Driving Off the Map, by James Howell and Jarrell Smith. These guys go way into detail about what's going on behind the scenes and in the player's mind. A lot of what they say is very much worth looking into if you want to get deeper into what makes the gears of Metal Gear Solid 2 turn, and how it does that. Seriously, if you ever wanted to see someone break the game down to its core, check it out. I'll link it in the description of this video. Overall, one of the messages of MGS2 I took to heart was the passing of ideas. If Metal Gear Solid speaks upon the destiny of passing on genetics as the meaning of our existence, Sons of Liberty challenges this, instead suggesting we should pass on our ideas and experiences onto the next generation in order to better the future. The advent of the digital age makes this much easier, but it's impossible to filter everything out, as things would be presented as censored or distorted truths. We live in this future, and encounter these problems every day. It's up to us to make sure we can live our lives and pass on the best to the next generation. These ideas themselves are presented in a very interesting way within the game. The final codec call in the game is a grand topic within itself. I don't think I can do that topic justice here in a small segment of the video. Therefore, I recommend checking out a video called The Most Profound Moment in Gaming History, along with some other of the videos on Max Durat's channel. He does a very amazing job with the topics at hand, and goes into finer detail than I can do here. I'll link that in the description as well. You could even just type Metal Gear Solid 2 Analysis into the YouTube search bar, and you'll find a treasure trove of very dedicated individuals who can explain the game way better than I can. The rabbit hole goes deep, and it's a lot of fun once you get into it. One last thing to mention is taking a look at the document of Metal Gear Solid 2, which is an interactive making-of documentary that was released a short while after the game came out. It has a bunch of behind-the-scenes material from pre-release trailers to Kojima's original game plan. All in all, a pretty cool package. The X Factor is something I like to try to justify as a selling point or deal maker for playing a game. Something that'll get you locked in. For Metal Gear Solid 2 in particular, I think you should give this a shot if you're looking for something that'll blow your mind as you play and keep you locked in at every turn. A superb sequel to an already amazing game, its gameplay holds up, it's not terribly long, and will probably make you think a little bit differently about a lot of things by the time you're done. When I started to make this video, the only way to play this game was to emulate, use original hardware, or the HD collections. However, GOG now offers the first Metal Gear game and the first two Metal Gear Solid games on PC. These are older ports and require a fan-made patch to fix some issues and help make it a better experience. It's definitely the way to go right now if you don't want to bother with anything else. So yeah, that's Metal Gear Solid 2.
Did you like it?
A fantastic game that presents intriguing ideas and makes you have fun while it's doing it. The game took me around 12 hours to beat, but hey, I still beat it though. Thanks for sticking around. Give this video a like and a comment if you enjoyed, and maybe subscribe. I got some stuff I'm cooking up you don't want to miss. Till next time.